Please go ahead.
I'd like to pray to open up this meeting today, if that's all right.
Please.
Well, dear Heavenly Father, we come before you and thank you so much for this amazing county. Lord, I thank you for each commissioner, clerk, manager, attorney, different kind of worker that's in this building and in this space that works so hard to make this county one of the best there is to live in. Just want to pray for a couple of things, Lord. Wisdom. I ask, Lord, that great wisdom would be used as incredible decisions are made regarding or pertaining to a whole lot of people. Second one is unity. I ask, Lord, that there would be unity in the different groups, different folks that work in different parts of this building. And the third one is peace. Just ask, Lord God, that peace would reign in our place, in and amongst such a state of our nation and world that seems to be in a little bit of turmoil and upheaval. But Lord, we'll trust in you and trust that you reign above all things. So we give this time to you. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners business meeting for Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. It is 1:35 in the afternoon. Would you all please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to today's meeting. Mr. Ingalls, do we have certification for all the items on today's agenda?
We do, Madam Chair. My office has reviewed all items on today's agenda, and they all meet legal approval.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. Do any commissioners have disclosures for any items on today's agenda?
I have none.
No, ma'am.
And I have none either. Item number 2 on today's agenda is citizen comments. Are there any citizens in the room who would like to address the board on any topic? Please come forward. If you could give us your name, spell your last name and your address, please, Mr. Poplawski.
Thank you. James Poplawski, P-O-P-L-A-W-S-K-I. Live at 11989 South Swift Fox Way in beautiful Parker, Colorado. Thanks again for having me, guys. Since the Douglas County Commissioners voted to withdraw from the Tri-County Health Board, we've had 9 hospitalizations in the 0 to 17 age groups. And as Commissioner Layden so elegantly put it, just 1 death on the September 1st working session. Just 1 death. It's not a good thing to say. It pains me to have to hear it and have to reread it to you today. These numbers are all taken with mitigation efforts in place, masking. Commissioner Layden did sort of save himself by saying 1 death is too many. So I guess the question I have, Commissioners, if 1 death is too many, or not, at what point or what metric will you recommend masking children that are not able to be vaccinated? Do my kids need to be just 2 and 3? Do your kids need to be 4, 5, and 6? Would we not want to give our children a 3.5 times chance to not be infected, as the Arizona masking study on September 24th found? The Georgia study that Arapahoe County referenced in the draft clearly said mask requirements for teachers and staff members and improved ventilation are important strategies in addition to vaccination of teachers and staff members that elementary schools could implement as a part of a multi-component approach to provide safer in-person learning environments. That is from the Georgia study that's referenced in the public health order. So we've pulled the mask requirement. Did we improve ventilation methods in these schools? I don't know. I'd like to find out. Are we going to pull those or are we going to improve them? I guess that's the question I have. Do we listen to the whole study or just the 1 or 2 sentences that support our confirmation bias? Lastly, the funniest comment I heard from the Board of Health coming from Doug Benevento was an article, sorry if I messed his name up, was from Vinay Prasad. Doug knew Vinay was a prominent author. What he didn't call out is the article is an article. It's there for clicks. It's not peer reviewed. Vinay is not a child educator, a practicing doctor. and the article was released on September 2nd prior to the Arizona study. The funniest thing to me, please let Doug know, he might get a kick out of it, is Vinay is a he. If you go back and listen to it, he referenced Vinay as a she, which apparently that's, you really like the guy, but you don't know he's a guy. Multiple fallacies and critical thinking errors with this board and the new health board. For Doug, it's the appeal to authority fallacy. You accept the truth on blind faith just because someone you admire said it. Does he really admire Vinay, although he doesn't know what gender he is? Did he really write that commentary? I don't know. Do masks work? Studies prove it. I've forwarded 3 studies to you guys numerous times, and I will continue to do so. But another fallacy the board has used is the appeal to ignorance fallacy. When someone asserts a claim that must be accepted because no one else can prove otherwise. I'm an IT guy, I can't prove it. As Mr. Teal said, he's a software engineer. He can't prove it either. The Arizona study, which is the latest data we have, recommends it at a 3.5 times rate. One of the things you guys will probably come back to me is the freedom to choose. It's the same as freedom to choose with seatbelts and car seats. I can't write a note to a state trooper to say, I don't believe the state knows what's best for my children. Car accident deaths are 38,000. That's a lot less than what we have, and that's nationally, and that's a lot less than the 700,000 we've had with COVID. Lastly, does the county not open itself up to liability composing a health board without anyone experienced in public health and infectious disease? Defying CDC studies, tri-county orders, defying the American Academy of Pediatrics. Taking policy from non-residents in articles where they're not Douglas County taxpayers. They don't have skin in the game. Are you guys gonna be able to sleep at night if hospitalizations and deaths rise? You stripped away the only mitigation effort my child has left. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to address the board? Troy, is there anyone online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comments.
Thank you. We will close citizen comment. We'll bring it to the consent agenda.
I will make a motion to approve the requests in all items A through Q, if it is in fact still A through Q of the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries. Thank you. The next item is under the regular agenda, item A, Douglas County Rock Shelter Landmark nomination. This is Brittany Castle. Thank you, Brittany.
No, start. What is this doing? Do I hit? There we go. There we go. All right. Ready? Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Brittany Castle with Planning Resources. This is a request to designate the Douglas County Rock Shelter as a local landmark. Staff is requesting approval of a landmark nomination for a Douglas County Rock Shelter. The landmark status will allow the site to be eligible for a State Historic Fund grant award. The landmark process begins with the nomination of a property that may be historically significant. In this case, the site is owned by Douglas County, and the landmark nomination form was completed and submitted by county staff with help from the Cultural Resource Management Company who performed the rock shelter fieldwork. County staff reviewed and researched the site information to ensure the application was complete. The Historic Preservation Board formally reviewed the landmark nomination form to make a recommendation to the board. The landmark nomination is finally to be considered for landmark designation during a business meeting with Board of County Commissioners. The BCC will approve, conditionally approve, or deny the request. The rock shelter is located in Douglas County and is considered a protected archaeological site. As a result of Colorado law to protect archaeological sites, the specific site location information is included as part of Douglas County records, but will not be released to the public. In 2019, Douglas County contracted with the Cultural Resource Management Company to complete a site survey of the property prior to any development to ensure cultural resources remain protected. In late 2020, the CRM company completed evaluative testing at the rock shelter. The test excavation demonstrated that significant buried cultural deposits are present, which is why the site is being nominated. The significance of these deposits, coupled with encroaching residential development, spurred staff to pursue a State Historic Fund grant to assist with the recovery of the most vulnerable deposits before they are impacted by members of the public. On August 1st, 2021, staff applied for a State Historic Fund grant for the excavation project. Staff was contacted by the state and notified the site must be listed as a landmark to be eligible for the grant funds. This landmark request complies with the Douglas County Landmark Criteria Number 5, as the property contains the possibility of important discoveries related to prehistory. The shelter has the potential to yield unprecedented, well-preserved cultural assemblages dating to a broad range of time periods. The rock shelter may be significant on the national level if perishable materials are recovered. The potential information that can be learned from this rock shelter could help archaeologists understand how rock shelters on the Front Range have been used, what time of year it was occupied, and how long was the occupation. The rock shelter could also help researchers understand what food was foraged for, hunted in the area. Excavation of this rock shelter may also help archaeologists identify what native groups use the rock shelter. It is staff recommendation that the Douglas County Rock Shelter Landmark nomination be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. The HPB reviewed the landmark nomination and the nomination criteria on October 6, 2021. The HPB had feedback on minor technical corrections, but unanimously decided to recommend approval of nominating the rock shelter as a local landmark. This concludes my presentation, and staff is available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. Any questions?
You know, Brittany, I don't have any questions, but I really wanted to thank you. And for the listening audience, I wonder if you'd be willing to share a little bit about your background and experience that you bring to the county. Obviously, your education, understanding, and passion for archaeology is significant, but I just want to make sure the public is aware of that.
I went to Metro State University in Denver. My degree is in anthropology with a focus in archaeology and a minor in Native American studies. My first field school was on Cherokee Ranch, so I did 3 field schools. That's where I fell in love with archaeology, and I focused on working in the lab and taking care of artifacts and curation in the Metro lab before I graduated.
Well, we're very fortunate to have you here. Thank you, Brittany.
No questions, ma'am.
You've been doing a great job for the county and all of our archaeological as well as our things at the repository, so thank you. I'm going to open this up for citizen comment. Are there any citizen comments in the room? Troy, is there anyone online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comments at this time.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to the board for a motion or further discussion.
Madam Chair, so this is one that I've been at least trying to follow as close as I can. And of course, such a phenomenal, based on the initial studies, such a phenomenal opportunity to understand the history and the prehistory of Douglas County, both, European settlement and the use of this shelter by European immigrants and Americans coming out to the West, but also Native Americans. And so it's a great opportunity for us to not only understand what has gone before us, but also to capture those artifacts, preserve those artifacts so they can be around for later generations. To wit, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Douglas County Rock Shelter Landmark Nomination, Project File HP 2021-001.
Second?
There's a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
Number B, resolution amending another resolution concerning naming of county real and personal property. Commissioner Teal, would you like to do this one?
I would. This came up with the passing of a significant citizen of Douglas County in the last year. And the individual who we're going to talk about in motion C, served his country, but also had great service to the county. And it made us cause the board to reconsider a prior resolution that prohibited naming buildings here in real property here in the county after individuals. And so, Madam Chair, if it pleases the board, I'd like to go ahead and read the resolution, if that would be fine.
Please do.
This is a resolution amending Resolution R-018-064 concerning naming real county property, concerning naming county real and personal property after any individual or entity. Whereas on July 24th, 2018, the Board of County Commissioners adopted resolution number R-1-8, R-1018-064. I am obviously having troubles with numbers today. Concerning the naming of the county-owned real and personal property after any individual or entity, and whereas said resolution stated that it was the board's determination that at that time, it was deemed that county-owned property should not be named for any individual, family, or entity, whether past or current, living or deceased, and whereas Colorado counties have the power to purchase and hold real and personal property for the use of the county pursuant to 30-11-101 1B CRS, and whereas real and personal property conveyed to a county shall be deemed the property of such county pursuant to 30-11-102 CRS, and whereas the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, State of Colorado, otherwise known as the Board, pursuant to 30-11-103 CRS, is statutorily mandated to exercise the powers of a county as a body politique and corporate. And whereas the Board has the authority pursuant to 30-11-107 1A CRS to make such orders regarding property belonging to the county as is deemed expedient, and whereas the Board, after additional consideration, now deems it appropriate to amend resolution number R-108-064 to allow the board to designate and name certain real and personal property, including buildings and facilities, after individuals that are now deceased, but whose contributions to the county have been significant in the determination of the board. And whereas the remaining provisions of Resolution R-018-064 shall remain in full force and effect, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, State of Colorado, that Resolution R-018-064 is hereby amended to allow the board to designate and name certain county-owned real and personal properties after deceased individuals in order to memorialize the contributions or lives of specific individuals or entities that have contributed to the history of Douglas. And be it further resolved that the remaining provisions of Resolution R-018-064 shall remain in full force and effect. Read this day, 12th day of October, 2021, in Castle Rock, Colorado, Douglas County, Colorado.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. Any comments?
You know, I have a comment, and I'm sorry, was there a motion already made?
No, sir.
Not yet. Okay. Well, I will certainly make a comment with regard to the resolution. You know, it is not only appropriate for Douglas County, but certainly common in villages, cities, and towns throughout Colorado and throughout the United States for local bodies politic to be able to designate certain areas and facilities associated with property that is owned by that municipality for contributions made by significant members of that community. I think it is incumbent upon us and well within our subjective discretion to ensure that our properties within Douglas County reflect the significant contributions of those that came before us. I recognize and realize that when naming streets, or facilities after living persons. Those reputations can change with time, and there is certainly some danger in doing that. But I certainly believe that a posthumous designation, once somebody has passed, being able to reflect upon the contributions that have been made and make that designation is an important and powerful duty that this board has and should continue to hold.
So I'm just going to weigh in. In 2018, the amendment, I'm sorry, this resolution that's being changed was passed, and it came after a lot of conversation. At that time, Commissioner Roger Partridge was a commissioner along with Commissioner Diane Holbert. And Commissioner Partridge came to us and said, you know, I really think it's important that we agree and pass a resolution that we no longer name county property that is paid for by taxpayers, after individuals, unless, like Philip Miller, who this building is named for because Mr. Miller donated the money to the county for this building. He also donated money to the library for the Castle Rock Library to be named after him. And he didn't give the money to them saying, will you name it after me if I give you the money? He generously gave the money, and then later it was named after him. He also left behind an endowment of $33 million that every January there is money that is given to 9 entities based on that $33 million endowment. So Roger, Diane, and I had several conversations. If anyone remembers Roger, he didn't make a decision on the first meeting. So we had several discussions, and Roger convinced us that there are so many really talented people in this county. There are a lot of people who make contributions to our county in various ways. And how do you choose between everybody here who you're going to name something after? So after a lot of discussions, we decided that we would not name anything, any county property after any individual, unless there had been a financial contribution to that. That would be the one exception. Now, this resolution did allow for busts or other pieces of art that could be donated to the family and left in the building to honor that individual. And so I just think it's important that the record reflect why that resolution was made 3 years ago by a suggestion of Commissioner Roger Partridge, that he convinced Diane and I that that was the correct thing to do. So thank you. So can I do citizen comment? Are there any citizens who would like to address the board on this topic? Seeing no one come forward, Troy, is there anyone online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Thank you. I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for a motion.
I will make a motion to approve a resolution amending Resolution R-018-064 concerning naming county real and personal property after any individual or entity.
Happy to second.
There's a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 And all against, I'll vote against it. So that motion passes on a 2-to-1 vote. We'll move on to item number C. Again, this involves naming property after an individual. Commissioner Teal, would you like to do that, or would you like to, Commissioner Layden?
You know, Commissioner Teal has been actively engaged with the family of the deceased, and so I would relinquish my time to him.
I'll be happy to introduce this one, Madam Chair. So if it pleases the board, this is a resolution approving the naming of the Douglas County Event Center after the former Douglas County Commissioner, James R. Sullivan. One of the things that struck me to bring this before the board was it goes beyond what Jim Sullivan did as a commissioner. It goes beyond what he did representing a large portion at the time of Douglas County in the 45th House District in the General Assembly. But also, Sully was a veteran of the 25th Infantry Division during the Korean conflict. I myself was an officer of the 25th Infantry Division. So I would be remiss to not honor a fellow brother officer of our division, of the Tropic Lightning Division, division that was formed on October 1st 1941, might as well virtually be on the eve of Pearl Harbor attack in Hawaii, one of the first U.S. Army units to deploy during the Pacific War, during World War II, but then honorable service as a division, as Sully did in Korea, in Vietnam, and as many recent veterans of Central Command in operations in Iraq and Afghanistan know, honorable and distinguished service in those most recent conflicts. So there's a part of me that feels like if there's a private that serves in the military, if there's an airman, a sailor, a private Marine, you know, I would want to honor them by putting their name on a building, by putting their name, naming a street. Obviously, Commissioner Thomas, you did explain the quandary put to us by my predecessor of, well, how do you choose? I think the way you really choose is what was the balance of that person's life in service to our county? And I think it is very difficult to point, let me say, the list is short to find somebody who contributed quite as much to this county and what this county is today than James R. Sullivan. To wit, if it pleases the board, I'd like to read the following resolution. Resolution approving the naming of the Douglas County Event Center after former Douglas County Commissioner James R. Sullivan. Whereas James R. Sullivan, Jim, some people call him Sully, served as Douglas County Commissioner from 1989 to 2004. And whereas Jim also served for many years as a member of the Douglas County Fair Board. And whereas through his tireless leadership, dedication, and public service, Jim made a significant impact on the county as a whole and the Douglas County Fair and Rodeo in particular. And whereas Jim was instrumental in envisioning and working to create the Douglas County Fairgrounds and Event Center as it exists today, and whereas the Board of County Commissioners wishes to recognize Jim, not only for his dedicated service to his country and its residents, but also as someone whose extraordinary contributions in public service helped shape the Douglas County we know today. And whereas the naming of the Douglas County Event Center is an appropriate recognition of such a distinguished person, now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, State of Colorado, that Douglas County Event Center is hereby named and designated as the James R. Sullivan Event Center. Read this day, 12th day of October, 2021, in Castle Rock, Douglas County, Colorado.
Thank you. Any comments?
Commissioner Teal, I greatly appreciate your passion and your commitment to the giants in our community that came before us. I also reflect upon this man as not only a commissioner of 16 years, but as a state representative and a veteran. And the fact that many of the sons and daughters of Douglas County may not be wealthy people, but they made significant contributions. And so I never want to condition recognition or acknowledgement on the ability to pay for it. I think this is a nominal way for us, and probably the least that we can do, to honor an individual and hopefully future individuals that have passed away, devoting their lives in service to Douglas County. You know, in my time here, I think about a young man who didn't get to be Sully's age, who made a decision to sacrifice his life for his fellow students at STEM school. And I hope that this board at some point has the opportunity, and now with the passage of this resolution, can think about naming of county property for Kendrick Castillo.
Thank you. Any citizens present who would like to address the board on this topic? Seeing no one come forward. Troy, is there anyone online?
I have no online comment.
Thank you. I will bring it back to the board then for further comment or a motion.
One of the additional items that I would like to note in terms of taking this action is I think it's appropriate to name this specific building after Sully. The reality is he was a huge fan of the fair. He was a huge fan of the rodeo, huge fan of the 4-H efforts. And not only that, but the event center was built under his administration during his time as county commissioner. So without further ado, I do think it's right and proper to make a motion to approve a resolution approving the naming of the Douglas County Event Center after former Douglas County Commissioner James R. Sullivan.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 And those opposed say no. That motion passes on a 2-to-1 vote. Thank you. Mr. DeBoer, do you have any comments? How about any commissioner comments?
I do have a commissioner just invitation to the public on October 19th from 6 to 7. That's a Tuesday evening. Your Board of County Commissioners will be hosting its 30th live town hall since COVID began. And this is an opportunity for all citizens, and I hope Mr. Pawlowski is there as well. I think the best thing is we're learning how to pronounce your last name, which is good. But that will be, again, October 19th from 6 to 7. It will be a public health live town hall right here in our hearing room. So we're looking forward to just engaging with warm bodies and our experts on that important topic.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. Commissioner Teal.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Well, given the last resolution read and passed, I do think it's proper just to let everybody know that there will be a memorial service for former commissioner, former state representative Sullivan this Saturday at 3 p.m. at the I had prepared to say the Douglas County Event Center, but I guess at the James R. Sullivan Event Center. Joining me, I will be speaking in his memoriam. Joining me also will be Father Theron Walker, former Castle Rock Mayor Pro Tem Joe Procopio, Fred Koch, as well as the Honorable former Representative and State Senator Tom Weens. So please come out, consider coming out and joining us for the memorial and paying honor to this great son of Douglas County.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. As the I-25 GAP project goes into its final year of construction, I just wanted to let everyone know that here are some statistics on this project that started in September of 2018. There have been more than 3,251 people who have invested more than 1.3 million hours constructing I-25 18 miles from Castle Rock into Monument. It's a $450 million project, and you don't very often hear today that a project is on time and on budget, but that's what CDOT tells us. In fact, they have been able to construct bridges that they had not originally planned for because of the great way that Kramer North America is working on this project. I just want to let everyone know there are still going to be additional closures as they finish some more of the bridges, but by November of 22, the goal is to have I-25 completed. I see someone in the hearing room who drives that every day, so I'm sure she will be happy along with many others. So thank you very much. That concludes today's business meeting. The next business meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 19th at 1:30 in the afternoon. Thank you.